Paul says, "Hey man, I hope you're doing well. I see that you mentioned you currently sell one lead to multiple clients. Yes, currently, but it's only a handful, and that is, as you're fully aware, which I'm glad you brought this up. It's a good topic for discussion for a moment." He says the industry this is an industry standard practice, meaning selling a lead multiple times. But what are you going to do in January in the TCPA ruling changes? And just so you guys are aware, what he's talking about is there's a rule that is coming in January that states that if a lead form that collects a lead, or even I'm assuming it also applies to call leads, things like that. But when a lead is collected, if that lead is going to be forwarded or redirected, sent to somebody other than the website that is collecting that lead data, there has to be a disclaimer that clearly describes or announces the fact that it's going to be sent to another corporate entity, company, etc., and it has to list who it's going to be sent to. So yes, I'm fully aware of that. I only have about 5 contractors that still purchase leads from a pool of leads because I've switched everybody to either rank and rent in some cases, but still only have a handful of those, mostly pay per lead and revenue share models. So it's exclusive leads from lead gen assets to the contractor that's buying the leads on the pay. Again, I still have a few locations where there are about 5 contractors that purchase into Lead Simplify. They go in and they buy credits in Lead Simplify, and then they just select which leads they want to purchase from their credit balance based upon the notifications that they get from the system. And there's only a handful of contractors that are still under that model. So I'm not worried about it. When that changes, I'll just tell them, like, that's it. If you guys want to continue working with me, you're either going to have to go on a pay per lead exclusive model, which does raise the lead price, the cost per lead price, or you can rent the assets out, which I might even do because those are some of the projects for areas that I'm not really focusing on right now. So, but yes, if you're going from selling a lead to multiple service providers or lead buyers, I'm pretty sure unless you have some way of displaying the potentials, and I don't know how that would be awfully complicated. I'm sure there will be some solution developed for it, but I don't know what it is. And honestly, I think that's going to be more complicated than it needs to be. For my model is more focused on exclusivity per contractor. That's kind of how I've shifted towards that approach for the last several years. Okay.
Sorry, Bradley, but if I can
please.
interject here, it's funny that you mentioned that because I was involved in a project where we were selling leads to financial advisors for the past couple months, and it's not local necessarily, right? But some financial advisors will buy leads, nationwide, and some financial advisors would have like specific licenses in specific states, right? But one of the things that we did, it was kind of a hybrid model. So what we told people is that these leads are exclusive for the next 60 days, right? So for the next 60 days, these leads belong to you. And that was a big disclaimer that we had on the sales page, and everyone was aware of that. So we were able to resell that lead after 60 days, provided that the advisor wasn't in conversation with that lead, right? And provided that the advisor hasn't closed that lead, which was the vast majority of the lead. So there's something there that you could, of course, you need disclaimers and everyone needs to be on the same page. But of course, the quote unquote resold leads that we sold after 60 days, those leads were cheaper, right? Because now of course, they got nurture. We had sequences happening all the time for them and nurture sequence and all that, but it wasn't like a hot lead that they needed to,
right,
talk to somebody right now. So that was something, sorry, that was something that I wanted to add, because there's a hybrid model there with disclaimers and everything that will allow us to kind of sell a lead twice without necessarily telling people, oh, these are not exclusive leads, right? They were exclusive for 60 days. And after that, we could resell them. So,
okay. Well, that's also a highly regulated industry too. So that must be tough working in that industry. I had one link building client come to me recently with a insurance agent that works for Allstate. So he's on the franchise site and all that. And oh my God, the amount of regulations that we have to adhere to like even when linking to the Allstate, his landing page on the Allstate website. I don't know if you guys know this, but they have specific requirements for the anchor text used. It's nuts. You have to have an opening statement before the anchor text that stays, visit my Allstate website or webpage on Allstate website or whatever, something like that, or whatever it is. There's specific language that has to be in front of the anchor text. And then there's specific anchor text that you're allowed to use. And after like, I don't know, jumping through hoops for 2 weeks trying to get some issues resolved with things like branded assets that had Allstate in the subdomain, and then they kicked it back and said, nope, you can't do that. And this, like, finally, I was just like, dude, go into another industry, because he was a fairly new guy in the local SEO, and I was like, I don't know why you chose this industry with all these regulations. It's so much more complicated than it needs to be. Pick another industry. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, there's a lot of red tape, a ton of red tape. And so yeah, I feel you. So I think that was a good advice, just go somewhere else.
yeah.